Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Grab your headphones, dim the lights, because today's story is going to pull at every string in your heart. This is He Loved Me Until He Didn't Need Me Anymore. A true feeling, no-filter tale of love that looked perfect until the mask fell off. If you've ever given everything to someone only to realize you were just convenient, this one's for you. Stay till the end. I promise the closing hits different. It was one of those September evenings in Chicago where the wind feels like it's carrying secrets. I was 27, finally feeling like I had my life together. Decent apartment in Logan Square, steady job at a digital agency, friends who actually showed up. Then I met him. Let's call him Ryan. 29, tall, quiet confidence, the kind of guy who doesn't try too hard to impress, and that's exactly why it works. We matched on an app, but didn't talk for 2 weeks because I was traveling for work. When we finally met, it was at a tiny bar in Wicker Park. No fancy dinner, just whiskey and good conversation. He told me he grew up in a dying steel town in Pennsylvania, moved to Chicago chasing music production dreams that never quite took off, now doing freelance audio engineering and bartending on weekends. I told him about my parents, who came from Lahore in the 90s with one suitcase and built a life in Texas. We laughed about how both our families still think moving to the big city is basically running away. That night, we closed the bar. He walked me to my Uber, kissed me on the cheek, said, "Text me when you're home safe." Simple, sweet, dangerous. 3 weeks later, we were basically living together without saying it out loud. He started leaving clothes at my place. I started cooking extra dinner. He'd play rough guitar demos for me at 2 a.m. and ask, "Is this trash or am I trippin'?" I'd tell him the truth, and he'd actually listen. That's what hooked me first. He listened like my opinion carried weight. Then life started testing us. His mom got sick. Cancer. Stage 3. He didn't have insurance, barely had savings. Hospital bills started piling up fast. I saw him sitting on my couch one morning, staring at his phone, eyes red, not crying, just empty. I sat next to him, took the phone, looked at the numbers. Then I did what love does when it's new and blind. I said, "We'll figure it out." I paid the first round of chemo, then the second, then rent when he had to take unpaid leave to be with her. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself this is what partners do. I told myself he would never forget. He didn't forget, he just changed the definition of gratitude. His mom fought hard, 6 rounds of treatment. Hair gone, weight gone, but spirit still there. Ryan was different during that time. Softer. He'd hold me longer, say, "I don't know what I'd do without you," almost every night. He started talking future. House somewhere quieter, maybe kids one day. Me designing the album art for his first real project. I believed every word because the version of him saying those things felt real. Then the miracle nobody expected. His mom went into remission. The day the doctor said no evidence of disease, we cried in the parking lot like teenagers. That night, we went to the lakefront, sat on the rocks with cheap champagne from the corner store. He looked at me and said, "You saved us. Not just money, you saved my soul." I still have the voice note he sent me at 4 a.m. that night. "Mia, I'm gonna marry you one day. Watch." 3 months later, he got signed. Not some huge label, a small indie one in Brooklyn, but they believed in his sound. First single dropped, got picked up by a Spotify editorial playlist. Streams started climbing. Suddenly, he had meetings in New York, phone calls with managers, late-night studio sessions. I was proud, insanely proud. I made him new cover art for free. I flew to New York with him for his first showcase, sat in the front row screaming like a groupie when he played. That's when the shift started. Small at first. Texts slower, calls shorter. "Sorry, babe, label dinner ran late. In the studio till 3. Don't wait up." I understood. This was his dream. I didn't want to be the girl who holds him back, so I smiled, sent proud of you texts, kept the fridge stocked, kept showing up. But then came the nights he didn't come home at all. First time, he said he crashed at a producer's couch in Wicker Park. Second time, he said he stayed in New York because flight got canceled. Third time, he didn't give a reason, just got caught up, talk tomorrow. I started feeling it in my stomach, that cold, sick knowing, but I pushed it down, told myself I was insecure, told myself he was stressed, told myself love means trusting even when it hurts. Then came the party. He invited me to his label's rooftop launch in Brooklyn. I bought a new black dress, did my makeup, flew in the same day. When I got there, he was already drunk, arm around some A&R girl, laughing loud. I walked up, he saw me, smile dropped for a half second, then he pulled me in for a quick side hug. "Hey babe, you made it," like I was an afterthought. Later that night, I found them in a corner, her hand on his chest, his head bent close to hers. I didn't make a scene, I just walked out, took an Uber to the airport at 2 a.m. with mascara running down my face. He called the next morning. "Where did you go? Are you okay?" I said, "I saw you." Silence. Then, "It's not what you think, she's just excited about the project." I asked, "Do you still love me?" He sighed like the question annoyed him. "Mia, things are moving fast. I can't do the long-distance emotional support thing right now. I need to focus." I asked, "So what am I?" Another long pause. "You've been amazing, really, but I think we both know this isn't working anymore." That was it. No fight, no tears from him, just clean, surgical removal. I hung up, sat on my kitchen floor for 3 hours. Didn't cry at first, just stared at the wall. Then the sobs came so hard I couldn't breathe. I called my best friend at 5 a.m. She drove over with coffee and didn't say "I told you so," even though she had every right to. The next weeks were a blur. I found out through a mutual friend that he was officially with the A&R girl within 10 days. They posted a photo from a studio session, her head on his shoulder, caption, "Magic happens here." My mutuals started unfollowing me one by one like I was contagious. I lost weight, couldn't sleep, kept replaying every moment I gave, every bill I paid, every late-night pep talk, every time I said, "You've got this," when he wanted to quit. I felt stupid, used, disposable. One night I was scrolling his Instagram on a burner account. Yes, I stooped that low and saw a story, him in a new apartment, city view, caption, "New chapter." No mention of the old one, no thank you, nothing. That's when something broke inside me, but not in the way you think. It wasn't more sadness, it was anger, clean, hot anger. Not at him anymore, at myself for letting it go on so long. I started writing, not for anyone else, just for me. Pages and pages of everything I felt, the good memories, the bad ones, the moments I ignored red flags because I was scared to be alone. I burned some of the pages, kept others. I went to therapy, first time ever. My therapist, a Pakistani woman in her 50s, listened without judgment. One day, she said something that changed everything. You didn't lose him, you lost the version of yourself who thought love means bleeding for someone else. I started running, not metaphorically, actually running. 5 a.m. along the lake, cold air burning my lungs. First week, I could barely do a mile. Month later, I ran a half marathon, not to prove anything to him, to prove to myself I could still move forward. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected, started saying no to things that drained me. I took myself to dinners alone, traveled to Mexico City by myself, sat in cafes, wrote in journals, and flirted with strangers just to remember I was still desirable. 6 months after the breakup, he texted me, "Hey, been thinking about you. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for 20 minutes. Then I typed one sentence. "You only get one chance to treat me like I'm optional. You already used yours." Blocked, deleted, gone. Now, 2 years later, I'm sitting here telling you this story. I'm not over it in the fake Instagram way. Some nights I still remember the good parts, and it stings, but the sting doesn't control me anymore. He's still making music, still posting, still with her, I think. Doesn't matter, because I finally understood the hardest truth of all. He didn't stop loving me when he didn't need me. He never really loved me. He loved what I gave him: attention, safety, money, belief, stability. And the moment he found those things somewhere else or in himself, I became replaceable. That's not love. Love stays when it's inconvenient. Love fights when it's scared. Love remembers who carried you when you couldn't walk. So if you're watching this and you're in